Hello, hello, hello. Happy Thriving Solo Thursday. Hope everybody's having a good evening. Gonna allow some more people some time to come in. Come on in, come on in. Let's see here. So, tonight's live session is about the power of boundaries, why they matter, and how they empower you as a single parent. Oof, that's a tough one, huh? Sometimes boundaries are looked at as if they are bad, but they're really not. It's not selfish. Nothing is selfish about boundaries, but we're going to dive right into it. I'm going to give a few more seconds for some people to come in before I get them started. So, again, the topic is the power of boundaries and why they matter and how they empower you as a single parent. So, we're going to dive right in. Just going to say hello and welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Coach Sheree, the single parent life coach, and I'm so thrilled to dive into tonight's topic. So, as single parents, you constantly giving, whether it's to your children, your co parent, or family, friends. It can often feel like there's a little left for you, but boundaries are the key to changing that. And so, hey, 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 Keisha, happy Thriving Solo Thursday. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see here on YouTube. Boundaries are just not rules for other people. They're also a way of honoring and protecting yourself. So when we dive into today's topic, I want to help you learn how to reclaim your time, your energy, your peace of mind, and also while fostering a more respectful, more respectful relationships with those around you, people that you value, people that you respect, people that you cherish. So, the four keys that we will be covering today would be understanding boundaries. What are they? Um, two, why setting boundaries is crucial for single parents. Three, the challenges single parents face when it comes to boundaries. And four, practical steps for setting boundaries as a single parent. So, I'll also take questions toward the end. So, feel free to jot anything down that comes to mind during the session. So, let's jump right in. So, first, understanding boundaries. What are they? The definition for boundaries are limits we set to protect our physical, emotional, mental, and time related well being. As single parents, boundaries are essential in maintaining balance so you don't burn out. So, common misconceptions would be boundaries are not about being selfish, they're an act of self respect and self preservation. So, setting boundaries is a way of saying, I value myself, my energy, and my time. I don't want to give too much out of too much more of myself than I should. And sometimes the best way, the boundaries are just for other people, but they are for you. Again, they are for you. And so you're even teaching yourself how to respect your boundaries. Because if you don't, no one else will. And so the reason why setting boundaries are crucial for single parents is because it protects your mental health. And really anybody, but of course, my specialties are single parents, and so, and then it should be a part of your self care. Boundaries are crucial for mental and emotional well being. They help prevent again burnout by ensuring you don't take on more than you can handle. Even if you want to have a healthy relationship, the best way is setting a boundary. That creates a healthy dynamics with your children, family members, friends, co-parents, even, romantic relationships and any type of connections that you have. And so sometimes the best way to look at setting boundaries, like I said, self-care, mental health, healthy relationships. Another thing will be time management. Boundaries empower you to manage your time effectively so you can prioritize what truly matters, yourself and your children. And so even role clarity. What's your role? What is your role in someone's life? What's your role even for yourself? What boundary do you have to set for yourself? I know I set a boundary for myself is, keep my mouth closed. Everybody don't have the capacity to handle everything about you. If you have a friend that can, great, because I have a couple that they can. But even in that aspect, I have to ask, do you have the capacity to hear this today? I had a conversation yesterday with a friend, and she was like, "Oh, wow, that is a lot." Yeah, I said, I asked, do you have the capacity? So when you ask, do you have the capacity? You're letting them know that this may be a lot. You may not be able to handle all of this. And so even though it's venting for you, but it's also maybe putting that on to that other person. That's why you want to be respectful of what their boundaries are and if they can handle that. Do they have the mental capacity to handle it? Do they have the spiritual capacity to handle it? Do they even have the physical strength um, of capacity to handle it? Because a lot of things are mental. It's more mental than we realize. And so you really want to know, as far as role clarity, clear boundaries reduce confusion and stress by defining the roles and expectations for everyone in your life. So that also ties into a lot of the challenges that we may face when we do begin to set those boundaries. That's the third area of focus tonight. And so sometimes when we set those boundaries, what we run into, the first thing we run into, because I've experienced it too, are guilt and fear. And that's coming. It's coming for single parents to feel guilty. Um, and when you're setting boundaries, because sometimes it may come across harsh, too strict, or you're mean, or sometimes I've heard distant, or uh, I've been told I'm a little bougie. Oh, you think you're better than everybody? No, that's not the case. It means that I'm self-aware and I'm growing. I'm growing personally, I'm growing mentally, I'm growing emotionally. So a lot of things that I used to do, I can't do anymore. Because for one, it may have taken too much energy out of me to even deal with that person or to even deal with certain situations or certain jobs. So when you're setting those boundaries, when you feel that guilt and fear, it's normal. But that doesn't mean that you don't stick to those boundaries. You set them, because the more you set them, the more you stick to them, the more comfortable it becomes, or the more it becomes who you are. It's the better version of yourself, setting those boundaries. And so also another challenge we may face is pressure to say yes to everyone. And that's kind of teeter-tottering along the people pleasing thing. A lot of times I used to be one of those people where I wanted to please everyone. No, I learned to say no. Saying yes to everyone gave me anxiety. Saying yes to everyone made me feel like as if, oh man, I really didn't want to say yeah, but I said it just to keep down confusion, keep down conflict. But I had to step into a place where no mean I can't give too much of myself, especially if I'm tired, or maybe I just don't want to deal with it. Sometimes it's really just that simple. But we deal with it because it's people that we love, we value, we cherish, or that could just be how we grew up. And sometimes just because you grew up that way doesn't mean you have to stay that way. If it's something different from the way you were raised, um, again, it's better for you if it makes you a better person. Set those boundaries and stick to them. Because sometimes societal expectations can make you feel obligated to say yes to everyone, your friends, family members, co-parents. But doing so can leave you, like I stated, feeling overwhelmed and exhausted, frustrated, mad, because you didn't choose you. If there's a no in your spirit, follow it. Even if you're normally saying yes, if you say no, no matter the looks, no matter the responses that you're going to, feel, that's where that guilt and fear comes in at. Just say no. And so, because what happens is when you continue to say yes, you allow that thing to control you. You allow that situation to have power over you. And so it goes into the next thing that challenges that we face would be, balancing your needs. Sometimes you're not well balanced. It's enough things that we deal with as single parents, paying bills, taking care of kids, working jobs, making sure everything is taken care of. And the one thing you don't want to do is just say yes just because, oh, well, that's what I normally do anyway. Oh, well, I don't want to get into it with that person, or I don't want that person to feel a certain type of way. Let them feel how they feel. Let them think how they think. Let them have those thoughts, because guess what? Is if it lasts forever, then you know where you stand with that person. But if it doesn't, their emotions may change. They may value you and they may respect the fact that you decided to say no instead of yes. So sometimes what happens is you don't balance your necessities over someone else's. You know, it's already a battle between your needs versus your children. So it's okay to say no to certain things in order to prioritize your health and happiness. And the last thing that we're going to talk about tonight, area of focus, will be practical steps for setting boundaries as a single parent. So sometimes when you're setting those boundaries, we eat anything that we set out to do. Sometimes we want to start big. No, it's okay to start small. Start small. Begin with one boundary. Whether it's saying no, whether it's choosing not to answer your phone when you need to rest, gradually work up to the big ones. When you start out, whatever it is, just think about that one thing that you find yourself always doing, but you regret it after doing it. Saying no when you need to is necessary for your well-being. And then once you say no to that one thing, it gets easier to say no to other things that you feel like you're putting too much time and energy and effort into. Communicate your boundaries clearly and consistently. Clearly and consistently. My eyes got big on that because communication is key. And so you have to let others know your limits. You can do it with kindness, but you have to be consistent. I say kindness, but also say firmly. You don't have to get an attitude with anyone. You can ask questions. You can allow them to ask questions, whatever that may be. Let them know what your limits are. And it doesn't have to be an argument. Your limits are your limits. Like I hear people say, my no is my no and my yes is my yes. So stick to it, because then you never see anything different if you keep doing things the same way. Be firm, yet flexible. When I say flexible, be firm, meaning stick to what your boundaries are, because boundaries are fluid. They can change based on your circumstances. But reason why I say that they can change based on your circumstances is just allowing you to be a little flexible, not bending. Bending, you have totally given up all of your boundaries. Like you got to start all over. So the best thing to do is not bend, but be flexible, because sometimes situations change and your feelings are different. And you may need to go back and revisit what your boundaries are. But stay true to your non-negotiables. And I mean, that's truly big. Stay true to your non-negotiables, because you can allow for adjustments when needed, but stay true to your non-negotiables. Because if it's something that's a flat out no, I can't do it. No, that's too much. Meaning, if somebody asks to borrow money, can't do it. Somebody asks, oh, well, can you do this for me today? Or can I borrow this? Or can I borrow that? And you know that, that may be your last. It's not a selfish thing. It's just that who can you go to when you're in need? Even if it's something simple as you're needing to split daycare costs, with the other co-parent. And whatever that case may be, if that other co-parent cannot split the cost that week or that month, then and they said, well, hey, can you pay half? I can only pay half. Can you pay the other half? No, because our last month I paid mine. Especially if this is consistent. I'm not saying you can't help if you have it. What I am saying is, if it's whereas this is a consistent thing and you see a pattern in it. And so also, like I say, stay true to your non-negotiables, but allow room for adjustments when needed. From when you deal with a person, whether or not they're taking advantage of you, or they really need your help, or they really need you to be flexible with them. And so practice self-compassion. Sometimes we can be our worst critics. You'll always hear me say that because, again, we sometimes have to let go of that level of perfectionism. And so be gentle with yourself while setting these boundaries or figuring out what your boundaries are. It takes practice. And you know, you deserve to give yourself, to be patient with yourself and understand where you are. Even if you struggle with setting that boundary, it's okay, but don't stop trying to set it. And so there are some expected outcomes that you can receive when setting these healthy boundaries. You can have improved emotional well being, better co-parenting dynamics, enhanced parenting. Like for yourself, you can become a better parent. You can empower yourself personally, professionally, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. And so, what I mean by improved emotional well-being is you'll experience less stress, a greater emotional stability, and more of a peace of mind. Even with the co-parenting dynamics, clear boundaries can lead to a more respectful co-parenting relationship, you know, making parenting smoother and less stressful. And so, enhanced parenting, you know, when your boundaries are respected, you know, you'll have more energy and you're present mentally, you know, to, you know, attend to your children's needs and not just feeling tired and overwhelmed and frustrated. And even like I said, the boundaries are not just with the co-parents, it's with your children as well. Knowing when you're accessible to them. Like if you have little ones, sometimes that's a little much, but you sometimes they can be overwhelming when they're younger. But because my kids are a lot older and pretty much self-sufficient, but you can begin to create that self-sufficiency and independence with your toddlers, or you know, especially if they're walking and they can play with toys, you know about how many times, you know, how long you have sat them in front of a TV or with their toys in their room and they're playing with them, you know, depending on the time of the day, hey, I can at least I have an hour to finish up with cooking, or I have 30 minutes to finish up with cooking. Some days works that way and sometimes it doesn't. Be flexible with your kiddos. And so as far as personal empowerment, you are in control of your time, your choices, your life. It's your life. You only have one. So don't live it being controlled by other people or other things. Live it having some control of your life by setting those boundaries. You know, you'll feel more grounded. You'll feel capable of thriving as a single parent instead of just, I'm just in survival mode. So I think that's come to the end of our session for tonight, but I also have um, time for questions and answers. If you have any questions, put them in the chat so that I can see them. Just gonna check and hop over here to Instagram to see if I see anything. Let's see here. I don't see any questions as of yet, so we'll just um, move right along. Let's see here. So as we wrap up tonight's session, I want to leave you with this. You know, setting boundaries is an act of self love. You know, it's and self respect. It's not just about protecting your own well being, but all about showing your children the importance of of setting healthy boundaries to create healthy relationships and also personal respect. You know, boundaries allow you to be the best version of yourself, you know, for you and your children. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. Those of you who will watch the replay, put something in the comments so I can see, you know, what stood out to you the most, or you can put a heart, or even something particular I talked about. If you have questions, you can send me a message or an email at info@thesingleparentlifecoach.com, or you can check out my website for more information at www.thesingleparentlifecoach.com. And until next time, you guys have a thriving solo Thursday. I will see you next week. Bye for now.